You're listening to the suitesflow podcast.
So today we're jumping into something really interesting in modern commerce. It's this widening gap, between the glossy dream that real estate developers are selling and, well, the hard reality that today's buyers actually demand.
Yeah, it's become a genuine breakdown of trust, hasn't it? That high gloss, sort of aspirational illusion, it's failing because the buyer today, they're basically an investigator.
An investigator? How so?
Well, they show up armed,
Yeah.
with spreadsheets, public zoning maps, even noise ratings sometimes. They're cross-referencing every single claim the marketing makes. And honestly, the more polished the fantasy looks, the more suspicious they seem to get.
That's a really sharp insight into the dynamic. And, the sources we looked at had this perfect, almost textbook example. This luxury tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sold with marketing, showing these sweeping golden hour city views. Beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm. Classic imagery.
But what did the developer strategically leave out? The fact that the empty lot right next door, already permitted for a 40-story building.
Which will eventually block those exact views they were selling.
Yeah, exactly.
And that silence, right, that omission about a known future flaw, that's the fundamental cost. It's the cost of selling a dream that you know is about to shatter for the buyer.
So that really brings us straight into the problem analysis. What has selling the dream actually become?
Well, the sources nail it, I think. They call it aspirational noise.
Aspirational noise, okay.
Yeah, look at developer marketing now. It feels like they're selling a mood board, Not an actual place to live. It's so heavy on aesthetics. The shimmering rooftop pool, that perfect co-working cafe with impossible lighting.
Right, the vibe.
Exactly, the vibe. But it's alarmingly light on the verifiable reality of the unit, the specific unit you might actually buy.
And it's that missing reality, that lack of concrete detail that becomes the betrayal point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're talking about hidden facts, like the 5 a.m. jet noise that makes the balcony totally unusable.
Or the building's proximity to a 6-lane highway that somehow never made it into the brochure photos.
Precisely. Or maybe that public park nearby that turns out to be fenced off and private, the fantasy just collapses the second reality hits.
And this change in how consumers behave, it seems undeniable now. Buyers aren't just dreamers anymore. They've really evolved, haven't they, into these hyper-vigilant investigators.
They really have. They start their search actively looking for the holes in the story. They're asking, okay, what's missing here? What's next door? What's likely to break or be a problem down the line?
And it's not just a feeling, is it?
Yeah.
The data actually backs this up quite strongly.
Oh, the data is absolutely damning for the old model. There was a recent study, right? It noted 68% of home buyers, 68%. They verify marketing claims against public data before they even pick up the phone to talk to a sales rep.
Wow. So they're doing their own due diligence, way up front.
Way up front. And get this, the same study found that 75% of prospective buyers prioritize transparent, hard specs. We're talking floor plans, measured noise levels, exact locations. They prioritize that over the pretty aesthetic visuals.
3/4 of them. So if you're hiding the specs, you're basically telling 3 out of 4 potential buyers, go away.
You're actively driving them away. And the financial hit for that kind of, deception, it's enormous. It's not just losing one sale.
Right, because a condo or a home, it's not like buying perfume. It's a huge, life-altering financial commitment.
Exactly. And when that carefully crafted fantasy collapses on move-in day, the betrayal doesn't just lose a customer, it creates a critic, a vocal one.
And negative reviews, especially about undisclosed problems, they sting.
They do more than sting. The source material showed they can cut future sales by up to 30%. 30%. That is just an astounding price to pay for keeping up a polished illusion that isn't even really working anymore.
A potential 30% revenue loss just because you didn't mention the traffic noise. Okay, that completely reframes the idea of risk, doesn't it?
It flips it on its head. Buyers start out skeptical, ready to catch you in a lie. The risk isn't transparency, the risk is secrecy.
Which leads to the big question. If this old method is so clearly failing, and it's costing potentially millions in lost trust and sales, why on earth does the industry keep sticking to this flawed playbook? Why does transparency still feel like the risky option to so many?
Well, I think the sources touched on this kind of industry paradox. It somehow feels safer, maybe more comfortable, to drop, say, $50,000 on a super slick cinematic fly-through video.
Yeah, the kind that makes the building look like something out of Blade Runner.
Exactly, like Tyrell Corporation headquarters. It feels safer to do that than to actually invest in providing the detailed, granular, unit-specific information that people genuinely need to feel secure about dropping hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
It's the old playbook, right? Create desire, gatekeep the crucial details, and let scarcity or hype do the heavy lifting.
And that approach leads to spending huge sums on these generic renderings, these videos that look amazing but offer zero actual unit fidelity. Meanwhile, the specifics a family really needs to know remain hidden or at least hard to find.
It really feels like a failure to adapt. I thought that analogy in the sources about fashion retail was spot on.
Oh, the Abercrombie and Fitch one. Yeah.
Right. Selling that exclusive high aesthetics, models only kind of dream back in the early 2000s. It worked for a while.
Until customers started demanding clothes that, actually fit real people with real bodies.
Exactly. Fashion eventually had to shift toward substance over just flash. And it seems like real estate, broadly speaking, just hasn't made that leap yet.
And that outdated approach, it's about to be steamrolled by technology. What's really fascinating and kind of accelerates this whole issue is the explosion of effortless AI visuals.
Right. The ability to just churn out perfect glossy images and videos is becoming almost trivial.
Completely. I saw that projection too, that AI-generated visuals on social media could hit something like 90% by 2026.
90%. So if anyone can create 1,000 flawless renderings in an afternoon, what's the actual value of generic gloss anymore?
Pretty much nothing.
Right.
Authenticity, verifiable truth, that becomes the scarce commodity, the really valuable thing. Generic AI renderings. Right. They'll just become background noise, totally ignored.
Okay, so if gloss is becoming worthless and distrust is costing a fortune, the industry has to pivot. It's not really an option.
It's an imperative.
So let's talk about that pivot. Let's move into the solution space. This idea that transparency isn't a liability, it's actually the new luxury. What does that look like in practice?
Well, the core philosophy shift is huge. It's about prioritizing clarity and trust over the polished illusion. It means being upfront, even about trade-offs.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so maybe you disclose the road noise honestly, but right alongside that, you immediately highlight the advanced soundproofing technology used in the windows. Or you're upfront that the community park isn't built yet, but you emphasize how that's reflected in the current, more advantageous pricing structure.
Okay, so it's not just dumping negative info, it's contextualizing it honestly.
Exactly. That kind of honesty, it attracts the right buyer. The one who appreciates the transparency and is making an informed choice, not just being seduced by a fantasy.
And based on our sources, the absolute centerpiece of making this real, of operationalizing this transparency, seems to be suitesflow's commitment to unit-specific virtual tours.
Yes. This is the critical differentiator because it moves way beyond just showing, 2 or 3 perfectly staged model suites while the other few hundred units remain a mystery.
Right. Most developers show the best ones, the ones with the ideal view or layout.
Of course they do. Even if the building has hundreds of unique floor plans, different orientations, wildly different views, suitesflow's approach is different. It allows buyers to virtually tour every single unit.
Every unit, even in a huge development. Hundreds, thousands,
potentially tens of thousands. And critically, each tour comes with guaranteed verified specifications and often real-time data attached. It's almost like a certification.
The certification.
Yeah, a certification that the developer is actually prioritizing the buyer's need for real data over just superficial flash. It signals a commitment to honesty from the outset.
Okay, but hang on, let's get practical. If you have a massive project, maybe hundreds, thousands of unique units, and some of those buildings are still just concrete shells, or maybe not even built yet, how do you actually generate hundreds or thousands of, as the sources say, uncannily precise unit-specific tours?
Yeah.
Quickly and affordably. That sounds like a massive logistical and computational challenge.
It would be using traditional methods, but that's where their proprietary technology comes in. The sources mention the volumetric information multiplier, or VIM.
VIM, okay.
So VIM essentially takes all the available architectural and project data. We're talking CAD drawings, BIM models, environmental surveys, material specs, everything, and it uses that data to generate these highly accurate, specific virtual tours for every single unit at scale.
And this works even if the unit is currently inaccessible, like under construction or even completely unbuilt.
Exactly. That's the key. It can generate these tours for properties regardless of their current physical state.
So the real innovation here isn't just making a 3D model. Lots of people can do that. It's guaranteeing the fidelity of the data within that model, right?
Precisely. The software, VIM, provides a sort of guarantee that the view you're seeing from Unit 1704's virtual window. It's anchored in verified geospatial data, verified architectural plans. It's not just an artist's guess about where the skyline might be.
Okay, that's a big deal. The views, the orientation, the dimensions, it's all tied back to real, verifiable data. That's what enables transparency to actually scale up.
Yes, but true clarity isn't just about the four walls of the unit. You need context. You need to understand where you'll actually be living.
Which brings us to the other tools mentioned, the ones that expand on that core transparency. Let's start with the POI map. What does a point of interest interactive map offer that, say, just using Google Maps doesn't already give you?
Good question. The POI map is different because it provides a curated, highly navigable contextual layer that's focused specifically on what matters to a resident of that particular building.
So more relevant detail.
Exactly. It helps buyers or tenants clearly understand their immediate neighborhood. We're talking the specific location of the closest good deli, the exact entrance to the nearest subway station, where the access point to the nature trail is, maybe even critical infrastructure locations. It removes the guesswork from understanding the micro context of that specific address.
Makes sense. Takes the abstraction out of location.
And then the final piece of this transparent toolkit involves using AI, but using it, let's say, ethically. Using it to guide, not to manipulate.
How does that work?
Yeah.
AI in marketing often feels like it's trying to push you towards something specific.
Right. But here, the AI guidance system is built only on the real building data and actual user interactions. It uses intelligence things like real-time engagement insights from other users, plus customizable filters the buyer sets to give genuinely reliable, unit-specific recommendations.
Based on their actual stated needs, like budget, or maybe they need morning sun or a certain size.
Exactly. Budget, preferred orientations, size requirements, even maybe lifestyle fit based on proximity to certain POIs. It moves completely away from those generic, often manipulated marketing filters, limited units remaining, towards genuine suitability, helping you find the right fit based on facts.
Okay, so pulling this all together, this holistic commitment to transparency, powered by tech like Vim, the POI maps, the ethical AI.
Yeah.
What does it ultimately mean for the different people involved? Why does this shift matter beyond just making a sale smoother?
Well, for the buyer or the future tenant, the value proposition is pretty huge. It's unprecedented clarity and, crucially, security in their decision. They get to make this massive, often life-altering commitment based on verifiable data. That leads to fewer nasty surprises down the road and what the sources called a no-regrets outcome.
Which is what everyone wants with such a big purchase. And for the developers or the property managers, what's in it for them besides, hopefully, more sales?
They get to fundamentally prove their commitment to honesty and delivering real value. That builds brand trust like nothing else. And almost as a side benefit, they gain incredibly valuable data themselves. They learn how their target audience actually thinks, which unit types are generating the most interest, how people interact with the virtual spaces. It's powerful insight.
So the message seems to be that transparency doesn't mean you have to kill the emotion or the storytelling in real estate. You still need vision.
Absolutely not. You can still showcase that beautiful rooftop pool, talk about the lifestyle, but you just have to ground that vision in verifiable reality. You can't conveniently ignore the fact that the building next door is permitted to block the sunset view in 3 years.
Because if you are hiding something,
that investigative buyer will find it. Google Earth, public records, they'll dig it up. But if you're upfront about it, maybe even frame it honestly. You win the sale, sure, but more importantly, you win the trust. And trust is what builds a sustainable brand long-term.
it really feels like the market has spoken, doesn't it? It's demanding this shift away from selling a fleeting mirage towards selling a transparent, data-driven, trustworthy experience.
I completely agree. Authenticity, verifiable truth. In a world that's about to be absolutely flooded with effortless, glossy, often fake AI visuals, that authenticity becomes the rarest and, I think, the most defensible commodity there is.
That's the perfect synthesis, I think. And it leaves us, and you listening, with a really vital question. In this world of increasingly easy-to-generate visuals, where trust is fragile, how do you verify the raw, authentic data points when you're making your next huge commitment, maybe that life-altering investment? How do you ensure you secure a deal you genuinely won't regret? That's something to really mull over.
Indeed. And thank you for sharing the source material that allowed us to dive deep into this today.
Always appreciate the insights.
You're listening to the SuitesFlow podcast.